Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm just going to do a quick scrub up of this. So a clever viewer, all of you are pretty clever, much more clever than me, has reminded me that even though I've shown off this material in giveaway parcels constantly, I haven't actually worked any on the channel. So this is a Leopard Opal from Mexico. And if you look carefully, like this chunk on the corner, you can see that this is like a black host material. This is untreated, but it's got these big clumps of opal, and it does look a lot like the Mexican fire opal. It's got that slight orange hue to it, and it's just all throughout the stone. It's like a sintered diamond, but instead it's this black volcanic material and these little, basically precious fire opals inside. I'll dunk it in water and we'll have a quick look. Once you chuck it in water, you can see just how dark this material is and then how cool these little opal chunks are. This one on the corner is actually one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. And you can see how it gets its Leopard Opal name. It's quite an interesting material, and today I reckon we'll just go through and see if it can take a polish. I'll probably just focus on this side here and we'll just scrub it up, try to get it nice and even because it's very rough. Smoothen it out, polish it up, and just see how it looks. I'll do it all with the Dremel, and we will see if it does take a bit of a polish, because cheating with water is all well and good, but once this dries out, it will go back to what it was before. Not fully dry, but close enough. The key is going to be to get it nice and flat so we can attack all of these surfaces. All those ones that are flashing light back at us, that's the opal. It's like little pockets of glass within this matrixy material. So let's spin up and see what this turns out like. And away we go, starting out with the 120 grit sintered diamond. And I'm mostly focusing on getting rid of the edges because I don't know how this was subdivided from the main rock. It doesn't look like I can see any saw marks, maybe it's just been split here and there, but it does have really sharp edges. And I initially planned on carving this up and polishing it with the resin burrs, but I decided against that and went with the sandpaper rolls. Either way, the sandpaper rolls also don't like real sharp knife edges anyway, so it's a good practice to get rid of all of those edges every time. And you can see it comes away pretty quickly. You get that big tuft of like squid ink flying off it because it is quite a dark material. And the real interesting thing is the feeling of this material is somewhere between Boulder Opal and Andamuka Matrix, more Andamuka Matrix, but in some senses it is a bit more Boulder Opal like. It's not muddy, but it is a lot of interfaces between opal and the base material. The host rock of basalt is a very strange feeling. It is very similar though to Andamuka Matrix, more the concrete matrix, the less porous material. And you can see there, it just grinds up really dark. It's very hard to see through, so you've got to clean it off constantly. But it's a very interesting material. Apparently it's formed in a volcanic sense, so a lot of that silica-rich ash kind of percolates down the rock, fills up all of these little voids and stuff, and then deposits. You get those blue body tone areas, but you also get this fire opal body tone, which in this case, we've got that. And then for the polishing, like I said, we went with the sandpaper rolls, so starting off with the 240 grit, we're just going to hit absolutely everything. The 240 grit, or any of the low grits, you may need to use more than one surface. So I peel back a layer or two for each of the low grit ones. Once you get to the higher grits, you've kind of done a lot of the work already, but the low grits, they do wear away really quickly. Even if you use water and you take it nice and easy, it's still going to destroy them pretty fast because as you can see there, it's grinding away the stone, but it's also grinding off the paper. It's pretty fast, pretty quick, pretty easy. And I'm just hitting the whole surface. I was going to try to flatten it out a little bit more, but in the end I decided I'm not fully processing this stone and I'll probably actually carve and shape it sometime in the future. We just want to do a test polish, so that's what I'm going to do. And so we're going to keep it fairly undulating anyway. There were a lot of pits and voids. I noticed every now and then an opal would actually come loose from the host material and go flying off. I found a couple in the water, so that was something I didn't expect. The final polish we just left with a 5000 grit because this 5000 grit sandpaper is actually, it impresses me every time I use it. Every time I use it, I think, oh yeah, straight after this, get the felt burr on and get the aluminium oxide onto it. But honestly, most of the time, it gives you a good enough finish. Unless it's a super gem, probably then I would definitely go with the aluminium oxide to just brush it up, or the cerium oxide if it's a silica stone. But on a material like this, I would have gone aluminium oxide, and I probably still will in the final one. As I discussed later, we will see that it's not the perfect finish, and I think it could be a little bit better. But honestly, the 5000 grit sandpaper, it works really well. Alright, we're at the end. So how well did it shine up? This is the side that I didn't do, so that's what it was like in the rough. You can see all the fractured faces of the opal are the only thing reflecting light back, and then I flip it, and we're on to the polished side, and you can see it gets a great polish. Of course, there are a few pits and stuff. This is the type of material where you try to get rid of a pit, and you go past it, and then another one forms somewhere else. It's a little bit annoying like that. It's just got a little bit of porosity on it. But you can see you can get lucky and have good areas where it's all just that nice smooth material, not too many air pockets, maybe really tiny ones like at the tip of my finger there, but all in all pretty good. Unfortunately, where the boundary meets the opal, you always end up with this, like, I don't know what to call it. I always think of it as a watermark. So if a puddle dries on your bench, it leaves that kind of staining behind. That's kind of what it looks like, but it is flush with the surface. It does take a polish, but you just get this weird edge where you've got that interface between opal and the host material. And you can see it's got that kind of brownish color, but it's not loose and sandy. It just is another intermediate, which doesn't come up that great. I could try polishing it out a little bit more with aluminium oxide and hoping for the best, but I don't think it'll do anything. The flat lap would probably have a pretty good job at this one, as long as it doesn't dislodge some of the opal. Some of these pockets here are where opals have come flinging out. I noticed there were one or two in the water where they actually dislodged from the host material. I guess that is to be expected. Like, where is that big one that we had on the edge here? This big chunk here, I could probably just pick that one out and just have a nice little tiny opal. But I could see a time where you, as long as you get a small enough stone, you can probably get a perfectly clean face. But of course, once you get that reflection, you're going to get those little water stain looking things. And when it's out of the reflection, it looks more like this. Bit of color play. It is nice stuff. I wish instead of this brownish lighter colored border around the opals, it was just straight onto this black matrix. This black host material would really make it pop a little bit more, but it's almost like a fire opal anyway. So it's got that slight orangey hue when there's no play of color, or if you get an angle where there isn't any, and you just get that Mexican fire opal look, which makes sense because this is also from Mexico. And if you can get your hands on it, by all means, give it a try. As explained before, I think it is most similar to a weird mix between boulder opal, some of the harder boulder opal, not so muddy, and Andamuka matrix opal. It's kind of a hybrid between the two. It's got a lot of interfaces and intermediate areas where the material's feeling a little bit strange to carve, just like in boulder opal, but this host material is pretty rock solid, unlike the boulder opal mud, and you can see it doesn't fling mud everywhere. It does come off as a bit of a black cloud, but it's very slow going, much more like the Andamuka matrix. Really solid, definitely can make some good stones, so I'll probably shape this one up and make it into some sort of large pendant, though it is pretty thick. I might even be able to slice it down the middle and get two matching pendants out of it. It's quite a thick boy, so it can probably be halved. Good thing I got a trim saw for that, and who knows, you might see this one getting set in the near future. But there you go, managed to polish it with very cheap equipment, and you can see I ran the sandpapers down to an absolute nub. It's literally just paper. You're not going to be able to sand anything with that now. I just run them until that layer is completely dead. Sometimes I use 2 layers, most of the time it's just 1, even on big stone like this. And if you look at the graveyard, some sandpaper was certainly harmed in the making of this video. So these are all the layers. 1 of each, 2 of a couple of them. Lots of little fragments because it can be a bit hard to peel off the bottom edge of one of these sandpaper drums, especially in the coarse grit ones. It's pretty hard to get a good peel all the way back down here. Sometimes you can trim it up with a knife if you really want to. But you can see the that 1000 is now no longer gridded. And that's what all of them are like. And then I just store them like this so they avoid any chance of getting any kind of cross-contamination or anything with the different sandpaper grits sitting next to each other. Extra little tip. But these things are growing on me super well because half the time I actually don't think I need to follow up with the polishing compound. Though I really should. It's just laziness really, and just shock at how good the result is after the 5000. This guy here gets a very good result. Probably because I wear him to the bone. If I use them any longer, they're going to overtake my feelings towards the Nova points, since these are much easier for me to get anyway, so I'll probably use them a lot more while I'm dreaming of making those resin burrs. Anyway, speaking of dreaming, it's getting late. I'm off to bed. Have fun, stay safe, enjoy your carving, and I'll see you in the next one.